And I want to talk to you today about a very serious matter that's going on and recommend a solution. And the problem is that our federal government, the executive of the government, Liberals, Trudeau and his ministers, have been accused of treason. And the Conservatives have stated that they have proof of the treason, and it includes top secret scientific information being given to the Communist Party of China, as well as electoral interference with China. They paid for the Liberals' last election. And although the Conservatives have said that, they haven't acted yet because they do have the authority to arrest under parliamentary privilege. They have the authority to give us all the names of the traitors because they have it. It was all given to Parliament, and they have also the authority to arrest the traitors. So it looks to me like what they're doing is they're waiting for us to give consent for them to do that, because it's a very dramatic move, and we put that government in office through our election, so obviously we should have to consent for them to be arrested, so taken out of office. And the only way that I can think of doing it is through a petition that extends this consent. And it's an unusual petition that I put together because we're not whining and begging and bitching. We're saying we see that you've made this statement of treason and that you want to hold the ministers and the Prime Minister accountable. So we give you that consent. And I think that's what they need, and that's what they're waiting for. And same as the police and the military, they've refused to collect the guns, which is usually the last step before communism kicks in, and they've refused. So that's given us a little bit of space too, and also it gives us an indication that they're going to have our back. But we have to get into it, and it's like not a very time-consuming, risky, expensive, no expense. It's an online petition. So you can see the link to the petition in the credits here of this video, and also I've put up another video that explains in more detail about parliamentary privilege, and I'll put a link in after I'm finished speaking. I'll put a link also to an article on Canley from a case in 2022, Alford versus Canada. And it involved a case where the federal government was trying to eliminate parliamentary procedure. They wanted to be able to stop the MPs and the senators from saying anything that they were deeming to be top secret. And the court said, no, you can't do that. Parliamentary privilege gives them the right to say anything that they think the public needs to know without being sued, without being charged, without being disciplined in any way, shape, or form. So they still have that right. And parliamentary privilege is in common law, so that's why they can't do anything to remove it. And that's like, thank God we have that there, otherwise we'd already be plunged into communism, because there's so much infiltration in our government. And anyways, that's still there, and as I said, the right to arrest is there also, but they're not going to do it without our consent, and we're not going to be able to track our consent any other way besides a petition. So don't think, oh well, what are petitions going to do? Well, what this is going to do is have the back of any MPs and police that want to do it. If they don't want to do it, well, we're doomed anyways. But I think many of them want to do it. We've seen things like in Ontario, the regional police refused to obey the provincial law to enforce stay-home orders. They refused. And as a rule, they refused to do the shutting of the gatherings as well. Like any gathering that was over a certain amount, like they went down to 5. For Christ's sake, you couldn't have more than 5 in your house, like Christmas family over, like if it was 6 people, they were supposed to go in without a warrant, take everybody out of the house, baby, granny, everybody out in the street, and lock your door down. So they didn't do that either, not in Ontario. I think they did it a few times in Quebec for PSYOP purposes, but I don't think they did it very extensively there either. And anyways, they have made it clear that they are prepared to, you know, stand their ground, but they can't act alone. It's a freaking democracy. When you want them to do something as dramatic as that, you have to instruct them. And I mean, if you can think of another way to show that there's a public support for that, and by all means do it. Or if you want to make a different, you don't like my petition, you want to make a different one, that's fine. Like, do it. But we got to do something. We can't just sit down and expect anything to happen. We have to make it happen. We have to show the public. There has to be a public outcry. We have to show we don't want them in office anymore. We want them in jail, because treason is probably the highest crime that there is, and there's lots of other crimes that are going on simultaneously too. The huge fraud with the ArriveCan and the SMC Lavalin and the WE and and just the whole scam of the vaccine. I mean, by this point we know they were not safe. In fact, they were extremely dangerous, the vaccines, and we know that there was not even any testing done whether they were effective or not. So, it's like, and I don't believe they were. So, and even if they were, like, who gives a crap? Like, it's pretty much like the flu anyway. So, like, safe from the flu, like, the hell. Anyway, so that's all, part and parcel of all of what we're looking at. But this one, we have it nailed. The other one, there's always the debate, whose science is better, blah, 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 blah. There's no debate here. They stepped over the line, and they gave scientific secrets to the Chinese party, and they took money from the Chinese to pay for their campaign elections. And there's proof. The Parliament's even saying there's proof. There's the one video, I'm showing clips of it in my video that I referred to. You should be able to just find it in my account here. Polyev has the file in his hand, and he says there's proof here, a serious national security breach. And his shadow minister, Stephen Alst, says, and they want to hold everybody accountable, including ministers and prime minister. So we got to get on this, and we got to get on this ASAP. So what you can do is sign it and pass it along. Pass it along to your friends, put it in your groups, send it out by email to your email friends, and just get it moving. And I think it's going to work because we have a real high rate of signatures. Like, when it's presented to people, high rate of signatures. But we have to rely on ourselves to pass it around. Mainstream media is not going to, and even social media is permeated with controlled opposition, and then even the way Facebook is set up, if something starts to take off, they could kill it. They could just shut it off. So we need to do this ourselves, and this includes, if anybody has any time, go out on the street and get people to sign up. So you can give them a link to do it, or there's a QR code where they can go in and do it. And we have flyers for that. And if anybody wants a flyer, they can contact me at mjslegalservices@yahoo.com. So that's mjslegalservices@yahoo.com. And like I say, it's easy, and it's a way of stopping that last step. Like, we're pretty much at the doorstep of communism, and if they cross that threshold, there's no coming back, because the Parliament would have lost control, and the courts will be under a new structure. So they're not there for any of, like, we have no rights. Like, once the thresholds, you don't have rights. So like, the courts aren't going to resolve anything. Common law is out the window. Parliamentary privilege is out the window. Your inalienable rights in terms of respect and regard from the government are gone, and it's not going to be pleasant. Like, if we think we've seen rough times so far, batten down the hatches, because the storms are coming if we don't take steps now. And this is this is it. This is go time. This is like all the work that we've been doing all this time with rallies and uh, whatever other activities and court challenges, all that people have been doing, all been great, and it slowed things down quite a bit. Because originally, I believe they were intending to take over the country through the public health process, and that didn't work. That fell apart on them. That's a story for another video, but that was the case. And then they tried to be able to use the Emergency Act indiscriminately without having, proving the grounds or anything, just calling names, basically saying, oh, they're terrorists, those truckers, and put like this in intense attack on them. But that was deemed illegal by the federal court. They said it was unconstitutional, unreasonable, and a violation of rights, freedom of speech and assembly, and the right to protection from unreasonable search and seizure. So that was a big victory. Also, that slowed them down, but they didn't stop. Like they're very, like we're very infiltrated. The Chinese are here, and they've got all kinds of money that's going into government agencies, private agencies, and towards private individuals to try and push their agenda. And their agenda is for our government to fall. So that's why you see a lot of these groups are promoting this ideology that all of your system is corrupt, all of your courts and all of the parliament and all of the police, because if they can get us to a certain point of believing that, then our system falls. And when our system falls, we're easy pickings. That's when the communists come in. That's right in the Communist Manifesto. It's right in there to do that, to go out and campaign against the government of the day and create as much dissension and division and just chaos, because they want everything to fall. And that's exactly what they're doing. And they've done a lot of harm. And this has been going on since Trudeau Sr. And another thing he did to prepare us for this, and this is where you need to do your homework about parliamentary privilege, because one of the steps that they took to prepare us for this day of transfer is to make us ignorant of our rights. In school, they used to teach something called civics, and I missed it. I'm 71 and I missed it. I just missed it. And I have a friend that's 5 years older than me, and he got it. Okay, I didn't get it. When I got to high school, I didn't know what I was missing. I didn't even but now, looking back, I see what I missed. Civics is the study of your rights and your obligations in society. And we don't have that. We don't have, knowledge of the history of common law or what common law is, and our codified rights. We don't have a good understanding of our privacy rights and our right to, in Ontario, we have a right to informed consent, and also all the Bill of Rights. We have all the Bill of Rights and how that works provincially. Like many people say, oh, it only applies to federal. No, it applies to provincial as well, because the province isn't allowed to undermine your civil liberties in their legislation. So if they do, that's a federal matter. So you can use the Bill of Rights to fight that. So we've got a lot of babies in our bathwater. So I don't want to see the whole thing go down the toilet, because it took 700 or 800 years to get us to the point where we're at now. And if they make their transition, we lose it all, and we're completely powerless. And our military has to fold into it, and the police fold into it, the court folds into it, the parliament folds into it, and we're done. We're toast. And we're not there yet. We're almost there. You can feel the breath in the back of our neck. So it's very serious where we're at right now, but we're not done yet. And it's a simple matter of letting the Conservatives and the RCMP know. We have actually 3 petitions. We have a petition giving consent to the Conservatives, because they've said there's a serious breach and that they're going to hold them accountable. And the RCMP are actually taking a position with regard to the guns, so we expect them. So we're telling the RCMP, we're telling the Conservatives we consent to them arresting. We're telling the RCMP we consent to them helping the Conservatives do this arrest. And we're also demanding the names be released. So there's 3 petitions. So that's my message for now, and I hope you can share this video and share my other video that gives a longer explanation of what's going on. And Gotta keep our eye on the pie. And in the meantime, my message, hashtag we got this.